Good evening guys, this is Sumaiya. Welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to learn how to achieve uniformity in lighting design projects. Uniformity is the measurement of how evenly a light is distributed in this space. We have already discussed in detail about the term uniformity in our this YouTube tutorial. Now for us in our lux calculation analysis, and achieving the uniformity levels is a very important factor. And today in this video we are going to learn in detail what are the different parameters you need to consider before calculation and during the lux calculations, and we are also going to see what are the common issues we usually face while trying to achieve this uniformity, and we are also going to look into possible solutions. So let's get started. Achieving the uniformity levels is not limited to only placement of luminous calculations. It is something you will achieve during the lighting design process of your project, and there are important settings or you need to consider at all stages, like in the construction, lighting placement, calculation, and we will also evaluate our results. So first thing with construction, in the construction phase it's important that you make accurate 3D model as per your project AutoCAD drawings. Suppose if your project is something like the one which I have used here, curved wall or has a sharp edges like this, you need to construct exactly the same. Okay, construction is very important. Like for example here, for now I have just constructed the outer site element, the building, okay, but I have not constructed the individual rooms. Let us do that now. You'll go to the room, draw indoor counter, and when you're drawing the room, you will draw it accurately. Like suppose you're constructing this curved wall, if you place points something like this which is not a smooth corner, then obviously even your uniformity levels will get affected because of this different shape of your room, which varies from your actual AutoCAD files. So it's important that when you construct your 3D model of the project, construct it accurately like this. Okay, so this is your first step. Now second step is, after you have constructed your room, you go to the spaces, you click the spaces, and it's very important you set the proper utilization profile. This is based on which you tally your lux levels and uniformity levels. So it is very important that you select a proper utilization profile. So in the preset, even this is important. You have Europa, you have USA and Japan. Other country codes like SIPSE or Indian lighting codes which are currently not available here, you can choose something which lighting standard is similar to what you follow. For now we will consider Europa. Next is template selection. Here my project is an administration building and this is my office space. So I will go to edit and I will choose the office space. Okay, here I have offices and under it I have different other spaces, and this space, suppose it is filing, copying, etc., because it's an administration office, I will click here. Okay, admin office. Then after this, here itself you can see how much lux levels and uniformity levels you have to achieve. So under this template, offices, filing and copying, you need to achieve at least 300 lux with 0.4 uniformity levels. Next important setting is height in room or the space, that is your work plane height. So when you go to the 3D admin office, you see this yellow surface, this is your work plane, and on this work plane itself your lighting calculations takes place. So when you go to the calculation objects, calculation, select this work plane. This is the height of the work plane. I have explained in detail about the work plane in my tutorial. I will link that video in the description below. Wall zone, again this is very important for us. When you go to the plan view here, in the top you see this yellow surface. This is little bit away from our wall. This is our inner wall and this is our work plane. If I make the wall zone 0, you see now my work plane is touching the walls. Okay, suppose if I give the wall zone 0.1 or 0.2, my work plane is 0.2 meters away from my wall. Usually the light doesn't reach the corners and your uniformity usually drops at the corners, right? So that's the reason we give the wall zone 0.2. Now in the construction, another important settings for us is the reflection factors. By default, your floor will have 20% reflection factor, your walls will have 50% reflection factor, and your ceiling will have 70% reflection factor. This is standard for your DIALux projects. In case you have the material data of your project, then you can use the same reflection factors which is project. Suppose, for example, here I have considered two rooms, both are identical, and I have given both the spaces utilization profile to be the waiting rooms, and height of the ceiling of both the rooms is 2.8, and I have also used the same luminaire in both the rooms with similar arrangement. And suppose in your project, if you have darker colors for the walls, something which has less reflection factor, these two walls are black. Okay, see, this black color has 3% reflection factor. Any of the room is dark in color, be it your floor, walls or ceiling, it impacts the lux levels and uniformity. Here, now let's run the calculation. Let's check if we have any difference with lux levels and uniformity. Quickly run the calculations. Okay, calculations is completed, and if you see in the room 1, this room where I used DIALux standard materials, I didn't change anything, I'm getting 328 lux with 0.63 uniformity. Next room, I made two of the walls black in color and my lux levels dropped to 306 lux and 0.58 uniformity. See, not just the lux levels, even my uniformity has dropped from 0.63 to 0.58, right? So it's very important that if you know the reflection factor or if you have the material catalog of your project, make use of the same materials. I hope you understood the different settings which you need to consider in the construction phase. Next, let's go to lighting placement. See, we are lighting designers, and designing is with purpose, not just placement. Even when you refer your lighting codes, lighting handbooks, each space lighting requirements are explained in detail, and the lux levels, uniformity levels, glare levels, CCT, color rendering index, RA value, UGR value, everything explained in detail. Okay, so each project is different, each project has its own requirement, so design based on the requirement. Okay, not just placement of lights. For example, to explain this, if you have grid ceiling, not necessary that you have to always go for panel lights 60 by 60 or 120 by 60. There are multiple options you can do the same way. Different options you have from the different manufacturers. Like for here, this is from GLC TechBan and they have those lighting options for the panel light. Then you can even install your downlights in the panel ceiling. Like here are the different examples. You can even use your multi-spot downlight with white optics in your office project with the panel ceiling. So there is no standard formula that you have to design specific projects in a specific way. Of course, there's a requirement, there are the codes, and you have to comply with that. Now, next important thing is your lighting, mounting height of your luminaires. Like for example here, since this is my office space, admin office, I will be having a table here, and suppose if I'm placing any pendant light on the table, okay, I will place it here. Then the next important thing is this mounting height is important for me because if I place it too up, the light will spread more and the uniformity will be more. If I position it a little bit low, then light spread, intensity of the light here will be more, but the uniformity will be less. So it's important that you position your luminaires properly. For lighting placement, let us consider this room too, because we are considering two spaces. One is this admin office 1 and admin office 2. For now, in this both the office space, let us consider a simple layout. I did a grid arrangement here. Even for this room too, let's just do automatic arrangement. I just want to show you that not always this automatic arrangement works. That's the reason you have to design based on your space requirements. Let me run the calculations and show you the results. Okay, so in admin office 2, this office, I'm achieving the required lux and uniformity levels. Okay, but in admin office 1, I'm achieving the lux levels because 300 is the lux levels, but uniformity is not achieved. That's the reason you should not always go for automatic arrangement of spaces. It will only calculate the number of lights which is required to reach the target lux levels, but not uniformity levels. So let's design this space. Since this is an admin office, we'll be having some office table, like assume it's something like this. So how am I going to design it? First thing, since I have office desk, obviously I will be needing some task lighting. So I will plan something on this desk. For now, let me choose a pendant light. Okay. And then I just need one, two, three rows and two columns. X is 3, Y is 2. Okay. If you want to further move it, you can make use of this grid lines and properly arrange it as per your requirement. Okay. So this pendant, since it has direct and indirect, no point of keeping it so high. So I will just make it low, somewhere around this height is good for me. So this is my lighting layout for now. Before we run the calculations, there are certain points you need to consider. First one is that when you are running the calculations, run the calculations without objects and furniture. Because when you run the calculations with objects, that objects will cast shadows, and that shadows will be read as lux levels in the DIALux. Okay, so that's the reason whenever you're calculating for the final Lux report documentation, run the calculations without objects and furnitures. Second thing is, if you have any decorative lighting in your project, like assume if you have any floor lamp in your project like this, and you're running your calculations including this decorative lighting, okay, like here, and if you check the lux levels, your lux levels are higher near your floor lamps or table lamps, because decorative light are of higher wattage, okay, and it is more concentrated light, okay, like your floor lamp will emit the light only here. Okay, so it's better to exclude your decorative lighting from your final lux calculations. Now, after you have done those settings, you can run the calculations. And when you run the calculations, you can evaluate your results. So I'm achieving 392 lux, which is good because 300 lux is my target. My uniformity requirements is 0.4, but I'm achieving here only 0.38. That means I'm not achieving the required uniformity levels. If you click on this arrow, and if you're using DIALux Evo 13.1 version, you can now check your minimum and maximum lux values. So if you click on the maximum lux values, it is near where I have kept my pendant light with direct and indirect lighting effect here. So maximum lux levels is here. You can see those cross marks. And minimum lux levels is here near to the wall. Okay. So when you run the calculations and when you're not achieving the uniformity levels, then you have to evaluate, you have to find what is the reason and you have to correct it. Here, the reason is that since I'm using a pendant light for the task lighting, lux levels near the task is very high, okay? And that's the reason uniformity is not met. Though design wise, if I feel my design is good enough, I don't want to change a thing, but I'm not achieving the uniformity levels. Then what are the solutions? There are different solutions we are going to discuss one by one. First thing is, since office projects are more task specific, what you can do is, instead of placing just the work plane like this, okay, you can delete this work plane and instead you can do work area calculations. Draw rectangular calculation object and you can draw it like this. So this is your main work area, which is your desk, okay, and this one is the surrounding area, and this one is your background area, the orange one. And if you scroll down here, edge area is 0.5, that is the distance from the wall. We will keep it 0.2 or you can keep even 0. Now let's run the calculation again and check our results. See, now my calculations are completed and I'm achieving the required lux levels and uniformity. Just before, when I did the calculation, I was not achieving the uniformity levels, but now I'm achieving the uniformity levels. So the problem is not always the lighting placements. It can be even the way you're placing your calculation surface. So this is one solution. Now, suppose for example, let us consider another room. Now, corridor, after we finish the construction, we place the luminous. Now, let's run the calculation and check. Here, again, I'm not achieving the required uniformity levels. Though I'm achieving the required lux levels, I'm not achieving the uniformity levels. We are going to check what is the issue. For that, you can click on this arrow, check the maximum values. Okay, maximum value is here and the minimum value. Minimum value is at the corner. Okay, at the corners, if the lux levels is dropping, then your uniformity drops. Go to the calculation objects and make sure you can see this false colors. If you're not able to see this false colors, delete diagrams. Click on this work plane, false colors, you will be able to see it. Even visually, you can analyze that here my lux levels are dropping because this blue color indicates that my lux level is somewhere around 30. Even at the other corner here too, the lux levels are dropping. The first how I'm going to rectify this is you can cut that portion from your calculations. Okay, how we are going to do that is select your work plane. You can either choose any of these tools, draw rectangular cutout or draw polygonal cutout. Let's choose polygonal, and I'm going to cut only this much, only the corner, not everything. And don't cut a large portion of your work plane. Okay, select the work plane, draw polygonal cutout, and we are going to cut this much part. Let's run the calculation again and check the results. See, now I'm achieving 0.46 lux levels. I got the green mark, and even I'm achieving the required lux levels. Another important thing is now, okay, previously I didn't consider the column and the space was admin office. Okay, now in sitting area, my lux levels requirement is less. So what I will do, I will make the rearrangement. Of course, I will design as per the space, but for now, only for calculation, I'm considering this arrangement, right? And work plane height, if I keep 0.8 itself, I don't use the cutout now. Run the calculation. Uniformity is not achieving. If you see, it's because of this column. You have one solution. Either you select the work plane and make a cutout. Cut this part out. Run the calculations again and check the results. So now you're achieving the uniformity level. Suppose in rare case, even after you have made some cut in your work plane, even then, if you're not achieving your uniformity levels, what you can do is you can change the height of your work plane. I will show you the difference. Now, when the work plane is at 0.8 meter height, you're achieving 0.45 uniformity. Now, suppose I will keep the height of the work plane 0. I will run the calculations. See, the uniformity got better. Now it is 0.54. So, in the rarest case, there is no mistake in the construction. There is no mistake in the lighting design you have made for the project. There's no mistake in the selection of the luminaires. Okay. In such case itself, you can try checking with height of the work plane, but this is the last option. Okay, now let's consider another example. Now, next common question which I usually get asked is that I have made the 3D model properly, I have placed the luminaires, but I'm not achieving the lux levels and uniformity, like an example here. So, this will be the case wherein you would say that I'm achieving the lux values, but uniformity levels are very less. So here what is the problem? Obviously, you're not selecting a proper beam angle. Click on this work plane, calculation object, false color. You see this, the distribution of light is not more diffused. The light is not spreading more. And even if you see it in the 3D with normal light visualization, you can see those dark spots. Okay, that means the selection of your beam angle is not correct. Okay, so it's also important that you make a proper selection. When you select the luminaire, it's important that you select proper wattage and its lumen output and also its beam angle. The more you work on the projects, the more you practice, the more fast you can solve such issues. I will make a separate tutorial on how to select the wattage and lumen output of the luminaire for your lighting design projects. But since in this tutorial we were only focusing on how to achieve the uniformity levels, I hope you have understood what are the settings you need to follow and how to rectify any issues you come across while trying to achieve the uniformity levels. So this is it guys in this video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned to explore more in DIALux with me. Thank you.